Hi everybody, and welcome to another live of the Northern Affinity. I'm delighted to say I'm here with Chris Parker today. So I will hand over to Chris in a second or so to introduce himself. As usual, we're live on all the various different social media platforms. Anyone's got any comments or questions as we go through? Please feel free to put them in there in the various boxes, and we'll try to cover as many as we can. I know a lot of people watch these videos as well on playback, so whether it's on the social media platforms or on our YouTube channel as well. So so if you are watching, then great. And what I always do say to people, if you do watch it back, feel free to put some questions in the boxes there, because I'm sure we can pass them on to Chris at a later time, and I'm sure he'd be more than happy to answer those as well. So today we're going to be talking about how do you improve your business? How do you take all your business operations back to basics? So the reason I'm speaking to Chris is because this is very much his area of expertise. So I'll hand it over to you, Chris, to introduce yourself, tell about you and your business, and then we'll jump into some questions.
Okay, thanks, Michael. So I'm Chris Parker. I am the owner and founder of Combined Minds Continual Improvement Consultancy. I am a consultant, a coach, a mentor, and I set the business up last year. Basically, what I really wanted to do was focus on helping SMEs to improve operational processes and standards without any sort of complexity or jargon or anything that comes with sort of some consultancies, and just to make life simple. And it's all about keeping it simple, keeping it sustainable. So that's essentially what I do and why I do it.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Chris. So like I said, to anyone who's got any questions or comments to go through, please feel free to ask them. So really simple question to start with from me, Chris. What is continual improvement? What does that mean to you?
Well, for me, it's two things. Firstly, it's an entire arsenal of tools and techniques that help to improve business standards, business performance, and most people have heard of things like Lean and Six Sigma, Kaizen, and they probably don't know what benefits they give to businesses. Now, within Lean and Six Sigma, there's sort of over 30 different tools, techniques, all focusing on different elements of business improvement from a physical point of view. But as well as that, the part I really like to focus on is that it's an embedded business culture. It's all about everyone in the business looking for ways to improve the service, the quality, the standards, efficiency, and so a lot of improvements are led in essence by the experience and knowledge of line managers, the teams within that, and really sort of driving the business forward from the bottom up as well as the top down.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. And I guess it's probably pretty obvious to say that continual improvement is for every business. It doesn't matter what size or anything like that. But what typically do you see in terms of businesses that come to someone like yourself, or because they've got themselves in a situation where they need that help?
I guess the thing that I see the most, some businesses they sometimes don't even know they've got an issue. So it's very hard to sort of translate it over into something where continual improvement can help you, and because they might not even understand that. But I do tend to say that it can be adopted by any business, no matter how big, how small. Every business has processes. Every business has to communicate. Every business will come across problems of some form as they go through the day-to-day activities, and every business needs to find solutions, but it becomes more, this type of stuff becomes more effective where there's multiple departments or multiple tiers within the business, and there may be disparities between those. So we're aiming at trying to fix those disparities within the process, the communication, all that sort of thing.
So interesting you say that, Chris. I mean, I have a lot of these discussions with a lot of people who do various different things, and one of the common themes is that businesses that have started off obviously very, very small, they've grown at various different rates of growth, but there's been a point where they've not they've got their ways of working as a small business, and that was fine because there's only a few people. But as soon as more people were involved, whether that's employees or outsourcing or whatever it might be, it creates a problem within the business, and they have to do something about it. So one question I always like to ask people like yourself is, what kind of things could someone do? Now, if someone's watching this who is a very small business or starting out, what type of things can they do now? Kind of prevention is cheaper than the cure, I guess.
A lot of it, I mean, I know we're going to talk about back to basics shortly anyway, but a lot of it is putting the simple tools and techniques in place to start with. What we want to do is help businesses that are even just starting out to put the foundations in, get the communication levels, the types of communication within the business right, make sure that the processes are in place and they are robust, error-proofed. You adhering to good housekeeping standards, but you put in some sort of methodology around how you problem solve, and so those are the basic stuff that I look at. By putting those in place early doors, rather than waiting for something to go wrong later down the line, you're already hitting the ground running. So it's not a case of, we now got a problem, we're going to have to go back. We're actually hitting the ground running and solve it, and being proactive and sorting those problems out before they happen.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I kind of should have asked this before, really, but in terms of the types of businesses you work with, I know you said it's kind of for everyone, but do you see common themes on types of businesses, whether it's maybe logistics or people who have manufacturing, anything like that? Is this a particular type?
Yeah, I guess sort of my niche market would be warehouse, logistics, retail, wholesale, manufacturing, that sort of thing. Those are the areas that I've worked in myself. So they tend to become more natural, and obviously a lot of the Lean Six Sigma stuff is around manufacturing anyway. Although it isn't solely for manufacturing, but they were born out of manufacturing. But yeah, any business where there are workflows, where there's a process, or certainly where there's operating systems, those are the sort of businesses where you tend to find that there's gaps in knowledge. There'll be process failure, there'll be breakdown in communication. There's going to be the bigger it is, the problems with housekeeping around anything where mistakes can happen. It's all about trying to embed the solutions, but make sure they don't reoccur.
I guess one question on top of that as well. Have you found that obviously the last 6 to 7 months now, there's a lot of people have been working more remotely within businesses, whilst obviously certain people can. Do you think has there been issues where businesses have struggled to kind of marry the two areas up together? So if they've got people working remotely who maybe were in the office before, do you kind of foresee there might be some issues about that in terms of their efficiencies?
I think so. I think it's one of the things that as trying to adapt to something that radical, and it has been quite radical for a lot of businesses to be able to do that. They're not, they wouldn't necessarily be used to working anywhere outside an office. I worked in a business for 15 years where we got to the point where we worked remotely on a regular basis. So you were always all area managers all managed to work either from home or from another site. So I sort of got used to it myself a long time ago, and using the likes of Teams and video calling regularly. I think it could very well have been a massive culture shock to a lot of businesses being able to suddenly switch over to being able to work remotely without that succession planning already being in place. How many businesses already had VoIP on their laptops? How many businesses were using Teams and using it effectively? So yeah, there's an element there that we benefit of hindsight. You would have probably put all that in place prior to COVID turning the world crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of us would have liked to put things in before, wouldn't we? Yeah, hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
I'd be interested to know, obviously, with the kind of work you do, and I know you're not asking you to name any names, obviously, but kind of kind of some typical examples of the stuff that you've done when you've gone into a business and like the issues you've found, how you've helped them sort it, just kind of, I guess, kind of a case study in verbal terms of the type of stuff you've done.
Yeah, I mean, best example I can think of. I was working with a client pretty much from when I set the business up. Quite a well-established business. Over 150 staff, logistics based, and one of the things they were having problems with their operating system. A lot of it around mistakes. It wasn't quite doing what it wanted to do, and we did some exercises around that and looked at it in detail. But it was causing a lot of service failures, customer service complaints, and subsequent refunds, things like that. So what I did some workshops with the department managers and invited some of their teams in to really have a look into it and look at what the problems were. And we broke it out into like 100 different root causes. We found so many little, and a lot of it little stuff. It wasn't major, and 80% of it was probably process, communication, training related. And off the back of that, they came out with over 200 new ideas. And this was the frontline teams coming out with 200 ideas, and most of them were simple, easy to fix, very, very easy to implement stuff. Within the first 30 days, all of a sudden things started changing, and we saw a significant increase in their service just in that first month. And that's the sort of thing that you were looking to do. So the next stage is then take it to the next level. So that those solutions that we haven't touched yet, right, we're going to get those in place for the next 30 days. And we keep revisiting it over and over and over. It's a good example of how just those simple fixes can make a huge difference. Those quick, easy, low-hanging fruit. Get those in place first, and off you go.
Absolutely. I can imagine, probably most people are aware of the 80-20 rule in business. It's probably the case in what you do, isn't it? That 80% of the stuff.
I live by it. Yeah. 80% of the problems can be fixed by removing 20% of the root cause. It's true, because most of those problems are very easy to fix, and all it is just putting the methods in place to allow you to continue it. And once it's just that incremental improvement, sustain it, and keep going at it until you've got this high flying team that is almost autonomous. It becomes self managing.
Absolutely. So you kind of touched on it a little bit a couple of questions ago about what are the signs that a company needs help. Basically, I guess late delivery of goods might be an example if you're customer complaints. Is there any other kind of obvious signs to businesses that kind of a bit of a siren that they need to look at something?
I guess some good triggers. Obviously, yeah, you said customer complaints, breakdowns in communication, especially into department stuff, process related disciplinaries. There's a famous quote, about 80% of 80% of problems are the process, not the people. So it's up to management to get the process right so that they're not beating the people up. So looking at that sort of thing. If there's a lot of process related disciplinaries, are we looking at the process first? Low morale. A lot of this is about business culture as well. It's not just the process. So arguments within the business tend to be a good trigger. Non-conformances. So if you're talking from an ISO point of view, if there's regular non-conformances, or you're having to get to the point where you sort of, and I call it purging, right at the end, just before an audit, where you're having to purge to get stuff done, it means your process isn't quite right. And you need, that should be stretched out over the period beforehand so that when it comes out of an audit, bang, it's there, it's done. But yeah, things like that, lack of error proofing, poor housekeeping. Firefighting is always a good one. If there's people within the business constantly firefighting, you're having to use a lot of overtime for things. That's a good sign that something may be wrong. lack of operating system knowledge as well, where you've got a computer system that people only know parts of, and it's one of the biggest problems with a lot of companies. They'll know this much of one tiny little part of the entire system, and probably don't use it how it should be used. And it's another key indicator that we're probably not quite doing things how we need to do it, and that sometimes we need just a little bit of help from outside.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was interesting to find out, because I think for a lot of people, these things probably quite often creep up on them a little bit. And if they can, get it in the early stages, might not be right from the start, but at least the early, it's like anything, is the earlier the better, I guess.
Prevention's better than the cure. It's putting it in place early so that you don't have that.
No, absolutely. So we touched on it right at the start, actually, of the conversation about the back to basics, and I know it's something that you've been working on a lot recently, and the program that you developed. And do you want to kind of explain what you've been doing and what the program is?
Yeah, so back to basics. It's an entry level continual improvement program. So it's done in a virtual classroom, and it's for SMEs that have never tried continual improvement before. They might not know where to start. They might be concerned about sort of bringing somebody in from outside and aren't really sure what to do or how to do it, and they don't want to necessarily invest a lot of money in outside consultancy. It lasts 10 weeks, and over that 10 weeks they go through a fortnightly training session, and it's very bite-sized training sessions on those 5 key basics that I mentioned before, which is processing, error proofing, housekeeping, problem solving, and communication. So the modules are, like I say, they're short and they're sharp, but the teams take away an action plan at the end of each module, and the idea being is that they'll implement that at their own pace. So there's an action plan around it, but it's not a case of you must get that done in the next 2 weeks. Go away, work out how much you can get done there and then, how much you might have to leave till a later date. But it's not just the training course. There's full follow up, there's coaching, there's mentoring, and full support from me. So as they go on, they'll join a weekly peer coaching. So whichever businesses are on the course will join a peer coaching call once a week, just to see how they're getting on, who share a bit of best practice between themselves. I'm there to bounce a few ideas off. I'm going to pick up ideas as I go along as well, because it may be they figure something out that I've missed before, and something that's relevant to the basics of it. So yeah, and the business then gets access to all the materials, the modules, permanently. There's no additional subscription or anything like that. They've got access to this permanently, and it's done as a business, not as an individual, like you would a normal course. And then when future programs run and they want to go back on and look at and refresh on something, they can do. So that's sort of the nuts and bolts of the course itself. But the reason why I did it was I sort of looked at the work I was doing and the work that I'd done with clients and within previous employed roles, and I thought, well, I realized that there is a sort of foundation level stage for continual improvement that doesn't necessarily involve Lean or Six Sigma, but it does focus on those grassroots improvement, like your communication, your processes, your procedures, basic housekeeping, dead simple stuff that you can make a massive difference on. So I just want to create something that give those frontline teams some of the tools and the techniques to be able to manage their teams properly. And especially for business, a lot of businesses, they promote from within. So give the tools to those managers straight away and those supervisors straight away, and they can hit the ground running quickly. And it's something that, as you bring new members of staff in, you can put them straight on the course at no extra cost. It's not going to, because all the materials are there. So that was, and the idea is to embed it. You want to embed it into the business. So as people leave, you've still got somebody coming in that's going to follow that same rhetoric and follow that all those tools that you want the last person left with. So yeah, that's how it all came about, really. And I've had a lot of time to think about it.
No, I think it's great timing for obvious reasons, really, in a way, Chris, is that one of the things that I think we've all probably learned in the last 6 months is the value of remote learning and just remote work in general. And I think it was maybe something that's seen as a bit of a second-class citizen 6-7 months ago, about whether people prefer to face-to-face meetings, and same with training or anything like that. And all of a sudden, people have realised the value of it. it can be done just as good as kind of a face-to-face approach. And I've got a live later this week with someone who that's what they're in, that world of e-learning. So it's an interesting time, and I think so the real value for people now, and they understand more that kind of I guess on-demand access that you can get from any type of online learning and development.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between online learning and sort of remote classroom learning, because the idea of this is it's not just a case of you watching a screen. It's interactive as well. Yeah. So using the power of Zoom as we've all learned to do. There's breakout parts of that as well, which allows them to just think as they go. Think whilst they go on and get interaction between the other businesses that are on the call as well. So hopefully they can pick up something off another business that's of value to them.
No, absolutely. I think, like I said, we're all kind of a lot more used to using these type of mediums nowadays. Months, and it feels normal. And I mean, obviously, we all hope that there'll be relatively soon some sort of face-to-face left. But I think the future is that kind of blended approach, isn't it? To have both is definitely going to be the way forward.
Yeah, definitely. And in the absence of being able to sort of go to site, and I love going and seeing people one-to-one when I go, when I do the work I do. But that's been the most challenging part, and a lot of businesses haven't been able to do that over the last few months. So trying to create something that was a little bit more cost-effective, it can be done in groups over a remote platform. Is just, to me, has become a little bit more of the norm going forward.
Absolutely. So one question I thought I'd like to ask on all these videos to a lot of people is around collaboration. As you know, that's kind of the big thing that I'm a massive fan of, how important collaboration is. So is there any particular types of businesses that often you find yourself good to work with? So if there isn't people watching this or in that area might be interested in speaking to you.
Collaboration, great collaboration. For me to say, collaboration partners, business coaches, health and safety consultants, ISO consultants, HR, business recovery specialists, strategy consultants. Basically, in a lot of cases, it's business problem solvers. So you might have your strategy, your business coaches and your strategy guy. They may come across a business that's got a little bit of a problem around process, or they might have a problem with conduct or something along that. And that's the one where actually we've got somebody who will be able to help you with that sort of thing. I take it down to a more granular level than what a business coach would. So a business coach would deal with a business leader. I would deal with people sat at the lower levels that just need that help and guidance. And it's the same with sort of from an ISO quality point of view. And I'm sort of working with a couple of ISO consultants that have been giving me some really valuable information around the process side of things. Where they would deal with a high level process, but it's everything underneath it that people struggle with, sort of making that high level process work and breaking it down into those individual component parts, because every process is made up of multiple procedures and multiple sub procedures. So yeah, it's just, those are the sort of guys that can really help or can push things in my direction with regards to help and guidance for businesses.
Fantastic, Chris. So very last question, if anyone does want to get a hold of you and find out a bit more about you, what you do, where's the best places to look?
They can email me on chris@combined-minds.co.uk, or take a look at the website, which is combined-minds.co.uk. Or I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, I'm all over the place.
Absolutely. And just in case, if anyone does try, can't find Chris Forbury, I'm sure you will be able to, but he does have a profile on the Northern Affinity website, or just, contact me directly. I'm more than happy to pass those on as well. So thank you very much, Chris, for your time. It's been really, really appreciated, really interesting. And I know the Back to Basics program has been a bit of a labour of love for you, and I could see it's going to be great.
We're getting there with it.
So, Yeah. So thank you very much for your time, Chris, and thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you.